NAMM time. It's NAMM time. NAMM, or the National Association of Music Merchants, that's held in Anaheim, California every year. This year was NAMM 2025. I unfortunately didn't go, but that's okay. Thanks to the power of social media and websites and the internet in general. There is a lot of stuff that came out, and I just wanted to go through the stuff that I saw and that really interested me as a bassist, and some other cool bass stuff that I think you guys would be interested in. Now, because I didn't go personally, I obviously did not get to see everything that was presented or everything that was shown at all. This is just sort of an accumulation of what I've seen so far about a week and a half after the actual show itself. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. First up from Ibanez, we have a really cool set of new EHB models down the line that look so cool to me. Starting with the EHB 1675 MS. You have a pale moon ebony top that is on top of an ash body that just looks so damn good to me. You have a 9-piece panga panga and walnut neck. Now it's a multi-scale 5-string bass with Fishman Fluence pickups that goes from 33 inches to 35 inches. It's not my favorite personally because I prefer a full inch, about like 34 to 37 for my multi-scale basses that Dingwall does. Then we have this sick looking EHB 5MS BSP that just has the coolest color scheme I think of any bass that I've seen come out of NAMM this year. It's an American basswood body with that 33 to 35 inch scale. That's a 9-piece panga panga and walnut neck, also with those Fishman Fluence pickups, but this one has this super rad midnight Arctic Ocean matte finish. Man, that's rad. Then the EHB 1135 MS that also just has such a beautiful top to it. You have an ash top on top of an Akume body, 9-piece panga panga walnut neck, that 33 to 35 inch scale length. They just love doing that 33 to 35. And this one has Bartolini BH2 pickups. Then there's one new BTB coming out this year, the BTB 605 multi-scale that looks really good. Their finishes are amazing looking. You have an Akume wing body, 5-piece maple and walnut neck, 35 to 37 inch scale length, as well as the Ibanez custom electronics inside of it. Those really cool thin pickups that are really weird, but they sound really good. And then on top of that, there's a plethora of new SR series basses coming out from Ibanez. I appreciate that they're always trying to push themselves and see what different lines they can come up with the SR series. There's just a ton of different options when it comes to the different body woods, pickups, materials all around, as well as price levels too. You can go from a pretty good, well-priced one to just all out crazy made in Japan ones. And one more thing I wanted to note is the GSR 200 series, which is their more budget friendly one. Man, they have these 3 new colors that just look so cool to me. And next up from a brand that I'm just now hearing of, Shergold out of the UK, they have 2 new basses coming out this year, starting with the Telstar bass that has sort of a telly look to it that looks really cool to me actually. It's a 30-inch short scale bass that has a poplar body, bolt-on solid Canadian maple neck that has a laurel fingerboard, as well as these cool filter sonic humbuckers that I just imagine sound really nice, especially because it's that short scale bass too. I bet it just has such a nice vintage quality to it, and it comes in both this really cool black and champagne gold. Then there's the Libertine, which is a little different, but I like the styling of this one a lot. You have a full 34-inch scale length with a poplar body, solid Canadian maple neck with a laurel fingerboard, and these really interesting Alnico humbuckers that I bet sound really full. Next up from the homies over at Sterling by Music Man, woo! They surprised a lot of people when they announced that they are coming out with the Bongo, both 4 and 5-string variants. Man, I've hated on the Bongo for a few years now, to say the least, but I really want to try them. Apparently they play absolutely amazing, and I would love to get my hands on one and just see what all the hype is about, despite, to me personally, how ugly it is. You have an Indonesian mahogany body, 2-band active preamp with those 2 ceramic humbuckers, as well as a 24-fret roasted maple neck that has a rosewood fretboard. Coming again in 4 and 5-string variants and 2 colors, you have the Fire Mist purple satin as well as black. They announced the Dark Gray 5. They've had the Dark Gray 4 before, but now they introduced the 5-string version that of course has that Darkglass Alpha Omega control on it, and man, so fun, so cool and weird, but man, I love the idea of onboard effects on basses. And then for kind of a surprise, honestly, they announced their own Sterling model. Now the Sterling model is super cool. I don't even know the last time Ernie Ball, Music Man, actually came out with the Sterling model, but the fact that Sterling by Music Man's making their own Sterling model is super cool to me. You have a maple body with that Alnico 5 humbucker that is completely passive, so I really want to try this one just to see what it sounds like passive. Then you also have a maple neck that has a rosewood fretboard. Next up from Spector, they didn't really have a lot to announce, but the few that they did, I want to try them all to say the least. We have an update to Doug Wimbish's Euro 4 signature model that just looks absolutely killer to me. You have custom wound EMG pickups, maple body wings that has a figured maple top, and Spector Legacy preamp. And then it comes in a plethora of really cool colors, including this aged limited edition finish inspired by his original bass. And then the NC4 Frank Bello signature model that is a completely different sort of thing for Spector, at least visually. But man, I really like it. It has a metallic purple finish that the headstock matches, and the fret inlays match too. PJ setup, and look at the headstock. This is so different and I love it. I've already seen a lot of people sort of hate on this because it's too different for Spector in their eyes, but come on, it's so cool to me. From Kiesel, we have two new models, the Z2 and the O2, both headless and both are really wicked looking. I just really enjoy the amount of custom options that Kiesel really gives their customers. I haven't really played a Kiesel besides at NAMM before, but I would love to get my hands on one of these. The Z2 comes with an alder body. You can do it multi-scale or standard, bolt-on 4, 5, or 6 string variants, a maple neck with an ebony fretboard, 24 medium jumbo frets. You have 3-stack Tridium Radius humbuckers, as well as a Darkglass preamp for the electronics, and then a choice between 2 hipshot style bridges. Then for the O2, you have an alder body, a multi-scale bolt-on maple neck that you can get in a 4-string, a 5-string, a 6-string, or a 7-string variant for all you crazy people out there, and the same options for your electronics and bridges too. I feel like I've slept on Kiesel for a while, but man, there's something about these O2s that just look so good to me. Then of course we have Sire, and man, I don't know if Sire plans to do this every year, but I feel every single NAMM they're gonna be like, hey, let's release something that's gonna blow people away. Last year they announced the Z series, which is basically their take on the Stingray, and this year they came out with their headless M series that just look fantastic. You have a mahogany body with a plethora of really good looking colors that come in 4, 5, and 6 string variants, their own in-house humbuckers and preamp with a 5-piece bolt-on hard maple and mahogany neck that has a rosewood fingerboard. All of it is multi-scale too. So man, I definitely want to try one of these. They just look fantastic. And of course, with everything Sire, they do so much bang for your buck, and I have no doubt in my mind that these are the exact same. Next up from Novo Guitars out of Nashville from Danis Farrow, who has some of the coolest looking guitars out there. They announced their first bass, the Ivorus, whatever. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It sort of looks like a combination between an offset guitar like a Jazzmaster and sort of like a non-reverse Thunderbird. Man, there is something about this that just screams cool to me. It has a 32-inch scale length, so medium scale, has a pine body. The pickups are Novo Jazzmaster bass pickups by Lawler. But what's really cool on top of that, your controls are volume, blend, and 10 position tone styler. I have no idea what that is, but I am super intrigued. But just the styling of this on that rosewood fingerboard just looks beautiful too. The matching headstock, it is $4,000, but that's because, you know, they're handmade in Nashville. But man, they look so good, and God, I want to try one so bad, y'all. Next up from F-Bass, they announced their very first Bass 6 model, and it looks absolutely stellar. They have 2 different variants, the HSS style that's meant to sound and feel more guitar-like, and then the HSH style that's meant to sound and feel more bass-like, and I think that's really cool. And it's not just one of those things where it's like, oh, we put a different gauge string on it. No, you get completely different pickups, different string gauges, different neck woods, so it's a 1-piece for the guitar side, a 3-piece for the bass side. You have a black walnut body that can be rounded or flat top. Then it comes with Lawler pickups no matter which direction you go in terms of the HSS or the HSH style, as well as the incredible Mastery M1 bridge. Like with the Novos, these are $4,000 because they are made in-house, but my God, I bet it is the greatest Bass 6 you will ever play in your life. Lord knows I want to try one. Then from Mayones, for a surprising twist, they made their own multi-scale bass that's definitely for more modern players. That's very, what's the simple way to put it? It's basically their own version of a Dingwall. It's called the Ori, and it looks really cool to me. You have an ash body with 3 Mayones Velvetrone Grim VH humbucker pickups, 1 volume control that's push-pull active passive, 1 6-way rotary switch, and then an EQ of bass and treble, and then an EQ of mids as well. Not only is it just a regular bass, but it also has its own aux input and headphone out too, which is so rad to me. The neck is a 34 to 37 inch multi-scale that's made out of 3 pieces of Wingay, as well with a Wingay fretboard too. Everything I've ever heard about Mayones is just that their stuff is the highest quality, so I have no doubt at all that the time and research that went into making this is spectacular to say the least. And then speaking of multi-scale, this brand is not at NAMM because it's all in-house from Tomon, but Harley Benton just announced their first multi-scale bass, and I'm pretty excited about it. The MSB5. You have a 33 to 35 scale length that has an Okume body with a flame burl maple top. You have two HBZ humbuckers, so they're in-house ones, as well as volume control with push-pull function for active-passive switching, and then an EQ of bass, mid, treble, and finally balance too. These are definitely different for Harley Benton, but I am excited to try one of these out. I actually have one on the way, but man, the fact that multi-scale basses are becoming more cheap and accessible for so many different players now is super exciting. Next up from McGrath Guitars, there's the Thunder Horse bass, which is a collaboration between them and the homies over at the Bass Channel. Oh my God, they made quite the instrument to say the least. It's 3 pickups that are all EMG. You have a Thunderbird pickup for the low end, you have a middle pickup that's your classic P, and then the bridge pickup is a jazz style for that glassy top end. 3 volume and 1 tone. Oh man, it's just crazy because it's the Thunder Horse. There's probably infinite amount of possibilities in terms of tones available because you're not blending. They each have their own volume in a single tone. My God, I really want to try one of these. And I'm just so stoked that the Bass Channel were able to work this out with the builder and say, hey, this is a crazy idea. What do you think? And they just went full send into it. From Dingwall this year, they had some really cool exclusive new colors coming out for some different dealers, but they also had this really awesome Combustion Nashville edition that basically is the best of all worlds that they're trying to do. There's 3 pickups, but it has a blend knob instead of all the different positions. So it's one of those things that really Sheldon said he went out to Nashville, spoke to a lot of working basses, and they wanted something that was the Fender of all things for the future, where they can have infinite amount of possibilities at hand. And this is what they came up with, and it looks amazing in my opinion. And then Schecter, they came out with this a few months ago, I guess, but I had never seen it, but this is really cool to me. The Stargazer bass, sort of a Rickenbacker, weird, its own thing sort of bass that is just really cool and super interesting. Comes in a 4-string variant, a 5-string variant, and a 12-string variant. But not only that, Schecter is probably one of the only manufacturers who loves left-handed people as much as anyone could, because they have left-handed versions of all of these. You have a mahogany body with 2 pickups, you have a single coil in the neck and a humbucker in the bridge, and the controls are really weird but super cool. So you have your volume control, blend control, tone control, a 3-way mini toggle for bridge pickup that can go series, split, or parallel, 2-way mini toggle for neck coil tap as well. So the amount of options just seem really cool. You have a 3-piece maple neck with a maple fretboard and 22 jumbo frets. While this isn't in terms of style my favorite thing, I really like the idea behind it and just how many options electronically there are for your different pickups. And finally for basses, we have Fender. They announced the new standard series. The thing about this is they will be $600 street price. There's a P bass, there's a jazz bass, and they are essentially undercutting their new Player 2 series and having a cheaper import version, but they're not made in Mexico, they're made in Indonesia, literally in the same factory that Squires are made in. I'm not quite sure what the point of this is, but it exists. I don't know who's gonna buy this, but except for people that just want to have the Fender logo on the headstock. But if logos really mean that much, I guess go for it. It's just, this is all y'all got right now, Fender? Ugh. Now starting with amps, we have the Peavey Super Festival F1200B bass amp head. Now this is apparently their new take on the classic F800B bass amp head from the early 70s that has 1200 watts of power, which is just unnecessary, but so rad. You have a BJT preamp circuitry that's voiced by Mr. Peavey, foot switchable F800 bass overdrive tones, 3-band treble mid bass EQ with preset slope that can be internally adjusted, 6-band inductive EQ circuit just like the original, as well as pre and post balance XLR outputs with a headphone output too. It sort of seems like the best of both worlds. You get some digital, you get mostly analog, but it just sounds like it's mean and it's gonna be loud as hell. Even has USB recording out too. Then from Gallien-Krueger, we have the RB Legacy series, which y'all, I think they basically said, let's put everything that we've ever done into these heads. We have a 1000 watt version and a 2000 watt version. You have your regular EQ section, of course, but on top of that, you have bump, contour, and presence toggles to be able to even further adjust how it reacts to what you're playing. You have your regular drive on top of that, and then of course, different ways to put that DI out too. This is meant for big stages, and while I am not playing on any big stages at all, This is just really cool, and I cannot wait to see more stuff come out about it, especially demos. Hopefully I'll be able to try one out, but if not, that's fine. This is just so cool. Then from Ashdown, they announced 2 new signature bass heads, the Rex Brown RB800 and then the Chavo Adagian SO1200. Both look really cool, and because it's Ashdown, you know that grit and drive on there is going to sound so natural and so full. But most importantly from Ashdown, they announced new fridges. Yes, they are not bass amps at all. They got you. There are 2 different variants of fridges, and that's so fun to me. And then for pedals, Morley announced their new Rex Brown Old Blue wah pedal. I really want to try this one. I don't really have a lot of experience with wah pedals on bass, but it would be super fun, especially a Rex Brown signature one. I feel like that's going to be a whole lot of fun to mess around with. Aguilar announced the DB316 mid-range EQ pedal, little $100 guy that's meant to really perfect your mid-range tone, which I think is a really cool idea. The Camos from Darkglass Electronics in collaboration with incredible bassist and just all-around insanely amazing human being, Amos Heller. This is really cool because it's drive and octave put together. You can switch them around. It has an effects loop on it. There's a lot involved in this that I've seen that looks super rad, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it and just see what sort of weird and crazy riffs it inspires. Then Digitech announced their mono neon signature whammy pedal that has a really cool finish to it, more harmony and octave options, including their hypersonic mode, which goes up at 3 whole octaves. It's super rad, and it's also MIDI capable as well. I actually just put up the demo of it a few days ago on my channel. If you want to check it out, it is ridiculously fun, and the sounds you can get out of it are truly just out of this world. And then finally from DSM Humboldt, they have the Simplifier Bassmaster and the Subatomic Crossover Bass Preamp. Both look absolutely phenomenal. I really want to try both of these, especially the Simplifier Bassmaster, because it seems like there are so many options on hand, but it's pretty well laid out for the most part. And I just want to see what different tones are really achievable with this one box. And that's about it for NAMM 2025 from my foxhole, at least. Let me know what you guys thought about some of the releases this year and just what it feels like to be a bassist and see these new things coming out. I'm excited just because there are a lot of really interesting takes on old ideas, really cool things, and new ideas coming out too. But man, I just can't wait to see what other things down the line are released and announced too. But thank y'all so much for watching today, guys. I truly do appreciate it for watching, subscribing, commenting, sharing. Follow me on social media, all that weird, crazy stuff. I truly do appreciate it. And of course, no matter where in the world you are, stay safe, practice that bass, and I'll see y'all next time.